me when I'm on. Hi, I'm Amanda Freed, and I am joining you from the core at La Encantada, where we're live streaming. And so we're kind of, we're launching into a 4-week course about meditation, which is my favorite subject to talk about. And so I'm grateful that you signed up for this 4-week course. You know, we're still trying to navigate coming out of, slowly coming out of the pandemic and lockdowns, and really trying to navigate how to show up together and what that looks like. So I'm so grateful you made the choice to show up in this way, and that we can still connect with each other. You know, any other time that this happened on the planet, we would not have been able to connect with each other in this way. So just waiting for people to join. I'm going to tell you what the next 4 weeks is going to look like. We're talking about meditation, and we called it Meditation Matters because, number one, I really believe meditation matters, especially in these times, that it really is a helpful tool to have in your toolbox to negotiate, to navigate, to handle the world that we're living in. And I've always believed this, but I think more and more people now are becoming curious about meditation. And I've been teaching here at the core for quite a few years. And I looked today at the roster of people that signed up, and I'm so grateful that you signed up. And a lot of those names were new to me. And I was talking to Kate here, and we were so grateful to see new names, new faces, people that maybe are stepping into meditation for the first time. So I really want to support you in what I call kind of a soup to nuts journey. I want to inform you. I want to support you in the idea that you don't have to know anything at all going in. So if you're a brand new meditator or even just curious about meditation, we welcome you. If you're a seasoned meditator and you just want another point of view, we welcome you. If you've dabbled a little bit in meditation, it hasn't worked for you, we welcome you. If you had a previous practice, we welcome you. So no matter where you are in your meditation journey, we're so grateful to have you here. Housekeeping, a little bit of logistical information. I love to speak. I love to be a presenter. At the same time, I love to have a dialogue with you. And so we are so grateful to have support here, and Kate is manning the boards. And so at any time during the presentation, if you have a question, if you have a comment, I might be asking questions, please feel free to dial into the chat box, right? I think that's the way they can ask questions, yeah? So you just send your questions into the chat box. If we don't address them right away, I'll have some time for you at the end. So let's talk with each other. Let's join together today in this process. If you have any technical difficulties, let us know that too. You can send an email, and we'll be here supporting you in that way. These classes will be recorded as well, so you can catch them at a later date. If you can't show up for one, we'll be here every Tuesday at the same time. So let's launch in. A little bit about myself, if you are new to me. Amanda Freed. I've been a meditation teacher for over the past 10 years. I've been a practitioner for at least 20 years. I do practice every single day, at least once or twice a day. And it's so helped me with just showing up in life in a different way. And I do believe that this time on the planet, this time of extreme stress, extreme difficulty, even though I understand that we've been in pain and we've had so much to contend with, at the same time, it has given us the opportunities and even the need to reach out for new and different resources. So if this time has kind of forced you or forced us to reach out for new and different resources, not that I'm going to say it's a silver lining, but I will share that, great, let's get together and see how we can change the future. Just a note about what I believe is really important in this time. And, we're being asked to move forward, right? So many of us, maybe we've gone back to our old jobs. Have you gone back, anybody, and you can chime in on this, has anybody gone back to an old job or an old relationship and thought, wow, this isn't working for me? I tried to go back to what was comfortable, what I knew, and it's just not working for me. I'm so curious as to why that is. Well, we're being given the opportunity to raise our awareness, raise our vibration, and meet the current time and the future in a different way. So a lot of times when there are cataclysmic events, which we've been through, there's a reason. We're being asked to grow. We're coming out of our old shell, our old cocoon, and we're growing in different ways. And I believe that meditation is one of those tools that will help us to grow and also shed light on maybe some of your gifts and talents that you didn't know about before. And I'm just so excited to see, what do people have? How can we reach into a deeper part of our awareness to discover new parts of ourselves? So I'm so excited to take that journey with you. And so one reason we call this Meditation Matters is because I think it matters a lot. And another is we're going to discuss many different matters that have to do with meditation. So today is kind of an intro, and if you already know about meditation, stay tuned because we might have some information that, you can agree with. You can put in the chat, yeah, that's great, I knew that. Or you can always, and I welcome people to say, that hasn't been my experience, or can you explain that more? Because I love skeptics. And so, we're going to launch in, we're going to talk about what meditation is, what meditation isn't. We're going to talk about some techniques, and then I am going to lead you through a practice. So buckle up and stay tuned. And so I want to, I also have some information and some slides that we're going to share with you. So in a moment or two here, we're just going to pop up some slides with some information. Some of them are my favorites and some of them are simply informational. So yeah, can we go ahead and pop up that first slide? This is the benefits of meditation. So I wanted to share with you because it's amazing. I actually spoke with a young man this morning who is in the neuroscience department at the university, and they're doing all these studies on meditation in the brain. So let's talk about the physical benefits. So meditation can help regulate blood pressure and glucose levels, decrease chronic pain, increase DHEA, the happy hormone, shrink the size and the activity of the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for fight or flight, increase density of the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for your rational thoughts and your happiness. From the mental capacity, we'll talk about what neuroplasticity is, the ability to focus, social awareness, decrease anxiety, habitual thinking, stress, and fatigue. Emotional side, we can increase confidence, self-compassion, sense of satisfaction, and acceptance of what is. That's a big thing. So when we take these ideas apart, we go, well, we can be skeptical and go, how do you know? These are actually measured. These are scientific measured results of meditation. What I will say, though, is that these results aren't going to show up if you meditate once a year. They're probably not going to show up if you meditate once a month. They will show up, I believe, rather quickly, and it depends on the person. Everybody's a little bit different if you meditate on a regular basis. So I also understand that even just the word, and you can chime in here in the chat, does the word meditation cause a little nervousness or anxiety? Do you feel like maybe your brain is too busy to meditate, or you're not going to be good at meditation, or meditation is only for those people who know how to quiet their mind? We're going to talk about that. So are you one of those people that's had a difficult time or has some doubts or fears or discomfort around meditation? So chime in if you have any questions on that. So if you think, well, geez, I would love all of these benefits, but I can't meditate, or I can't meditate on a daily basis. Then we're gonna talk about over the next 4 weeks how to support you through that. So this is one of my favorite slides, and I always love to ask my students. So, the one guy's asking, well, what is that? Sorry, there's a questionable word in there. And the other one's saying, well, that's just my mind. So how many of us, and I say us, have a busy mind like that? And normally when I speak to people, that's the answer. Oh, my mind is way too busy, or I can't shut my mind off. So if you're one of those people, you can let us know in the chat. I can't shut my mind off. My mind is too busy. And because we are human, we kind of love the idea of being the worst or the best, meaning, oh, my mind is busier than anybody else's. Nobody has this same situation. Mine is busier than anybody else's. And so one of my classes, I believe it was here, I asked my students, so do you think that after 20 years of steady meditation, do you think my mind still looks like that? And most of my students said no. What I will tell you is that at many times, the answer is yes. So this is the first myth that we're going to bust. Meditation is not the act or the power to shut that down or to quiet your mind down. That's not what we're doing. So if that's what you thought, that this class or meditation were going to shut your mind down, don't be disappointed, but just know that we're taking a different path. And if you're a note taker, now would be a good time to make a little note for yourself. Because what I want you to know about meditation is that we're training the awareness. We're not training the mind. I'm going to say that again, that meditation, one definition, is training your awareness, not training or controlling the mind. Because if any of you have ever tried to control your mind, you know what a losing game that is. When you sit down to meditate, if any of your effort is going toward shutting down this machine that is the mind, you probably understand that you spent whatever time you had set on your timer in trying to wrestle with your mind. So when we notice that the mind is actually not a hindrance to meditation, it's not a bad thing. The mind is actually a beautiful gift that we've been given. When you recognize that and you go, okay, this is an important tool for me. My mind keeps me from walking out into traffic. My mind keeps me eating when I need to eat. It keeps me from touching a hot stove. This is a beautiful gift that we have. We have a mind of discernment, and it's beautiful. And we don't want to judge it or use it as an obstacle to where we want to go. We also don't want to focus on the chattering of the mind all the time, because some of what's going on in the mind is very, very useful. And some of it is just old habits and old patterns really kind of working at us. So what we learn to do in this process is not occupy or identify ourselves with the mind. You know, the quote, I think, therefore I am. Well, that might have gotten us a little bit off track. You are not your mind. You are not what you think, and you're not who you think that you are. The mind is a useful tool, but sometimes we identify a little bit too much with it. So when we come into this practice of meditation, what we do is just train the awareness. We spend more and more time in what my teachers call a sweeter place. Because I don't know about you, but when my mind is working, it's circular magic. It's not really a sweet space. And down the line, when you've meditated for a while, what you understand is that simply by paying less attention to the chatter, to giving it less of my awareness, it just might slow down and quiet down on its own. So we're not going to occupy ourselves with the mind. We're going to love it, and then we're going to bring the attention elsewhere. So you can let us know if you have any questions, comments on that, or, you know, if that sounds like a pie in the sky kind of ideal. So just
Henry said he said me to that cartoon.
Yeah. So Henry said me. That's him. You know what? That's all of us. So welcome to the human club, and know that it's really okay. That we're really going to learn techniques to love that part of us, because how many of us are really in judgment of it? You know, we say, "Oh, I've got a busy mind," and we think it's just a terrible thing. Well, it's just the mind doing its mind thing. And when we recognize that, and we don't have to stare at that forever, that's just rough. When we recognize that that's what it's doing in most of us or all of us, then we get to go, you know what? Okay, I can love it away in a way, and then spend some time in someplace more charming. So we got the benefits of meditation. So we talked a little bit about the brain and kind of what happens in the brain when we meditate over long periods of time. So if you look right in the bottom center of this slide, you can see the amygdala. And the amygdala is that tiny, it starts out tiny, organ in the center of the brain. And this part of the brain is responsible for our fight or flight response. And so the amygdala sends information to the adrenal glands. So whether or not I have to fight or whether I'm going to flee. Recently, we talk about something called freeze as well. So it's part of that response, fight, flight, or freeze. Over time, as we are stimulated, see, most animals see a threat, a life threat, as a real life threat. You know, a bigger animal is coming by, man is coming by, so they will have this large response. They're either going to fight or flee. And you know this, and it comes with affecting the body system. So the pupils will dilate and the hair will stand up. You know, there's all of these sort of lizard brain things that happen. Humans, because of our minds, our busyness of the minds, we have this response constantly, not only when our lives are in danger. So I always joke about somebody writes a check at the supermarket and they're taking too long. All of a sudden my fight or flight kicks in. I'm mad. I made up a whole story. I'm sitting at a red light and somebody doesn't move fast enough. Our fight or flight kicks in. So this is constant for us. We always feel sort of in danger or threatened, and it is taking a toll on our bodies. We only have so much of all of the hormones that we need to either fight or flee. So over time, the size and the shape of this amygdala, this part of your brain, actually grows. So it grows in size, it grows in shape, and reactivity. Do you notice that when you're stressed, or the more frequently you are eliciting this response, the shorter the reaction time? When you're stressed, you might react bigger, quicker. So over time, as we keep growing this part of the brain, we're going to react bigger, we're going to react quicker, and it's going to, take a very serious toll on your physical being. It's going to take a toll on our emotional being and our relationships. So we want to start to address that fight or flight piece. Then you look at the prefrontal cortex, or the frontal cortex. That's the front part of the brain. And that's responsible for your happiness, right? So that's our rational thinking mind. That is our happiness center. Over time, as the amygdala grows and our fight or flight really takes over, the frontal cortex, our happy portion of the brain, actually can shrink down. And the thickness of that tissue will thin over time. So we've got more stress, more fight or flight, and less joy and less rational thinking, actually. It's really not rational to get really upset when somebody doesn't go fast enough at a red light, right? So if we look at our responses throughout the day, we get to go, wow. And we usually think of it later. Wow, that was a lot. That probably wasn't rational. Over time, And with steady meditation practice, we can actually change the brain. So in this previous slide, we saw the word neuroplasticity under the mental changes. Increased neuroplasticity, that's what we're talking about right now. The ability of the brain to expand, contract, grow, and change just by having a meditation practice. And I know it's really hard to believe, but it's absolutely true. In fact, they studied this gentleman, and you wonder, gee, why does that guy have electrodes on his head? If you notice his clothing, we can tell that this is a Buddhist monk. He's a meditation practitioner. And the reason that they would use this person as a test case is because we're pretty sure that he's meditating on a regular basis. So they used somebody that would be meditating on a regular basis to see the effects on the brain. And this is what this gentleman was studying today at the university right here. So they're studying the effects on the brain. And so we know that neuroplasticity is possible just through the steady practice of meditation. So how empowering is that? To know that you can change the shape and the function of your brain through a voluntary meditation practice, which feels sort of like a passive practice, but it's an active practice. It's a choice that we make. And so it's astounding. And I can tell you from personal experience that this does change. I don't have the reactions that I used to. I'm originally from New York. I don't speak in a yell anymore. So things absolutely change. Life changes over time when we incorporate these practices into our lives. So just that's the science piece that I happen to absolutely love. So we're going to talk now about what is meditation and what is it not. So a lot of people think that I'm going to go into meditation and I'm going to go into this trance state and I'm totally going to leave my body. And if that doesn't happen, then I've absolutely failed meditation 101. And I'm here to tell you that that's not the case. That when I meditate and when seasoned meditators, for the most part, practice, we still are very aware. We can hear what's going on. We are aware in our bodies. And that's why sometimes when you're trying to meditate and you hear a sound, you're annoyed. Oh, this, we're judging it. This sound brought me out of meditation, or this happened, or my husband walked into the room, or my wife was on the phone, or the dog barked at me, or something like that. We feel like, we're a failure at meditation because I can still hear things, or we're angry at the people around us. That's that reactivity piece. What I want to say to you is that meditation is a very aware practice. You're not necessarily going to have this body leaving situation. And I also want to support you in the idea that what happens during your meditation practice is way less important than what happens in your life as a result of having a steady practice. So that all you need to worry about, all you need to do is showing up to your practice. And those changes happen without you even trying to do anything. If you sit down every day to meditate and you feel like you slept through the whole thing, you are still going to get the benefits of meditation. Know that. No matter what happens during the time that you try to meditate, you're still going to get the benefits because it's your thinking, judging mind that's telling you it's not working. After, I do believe 4 weeks is a good time to set this in. So after that time, just notice you might be a slight bit less reactionary. You might have what we call the meditation gap, that between an event and your reaction, you may have just a moment of clarity and to decide whether you'd like to react or respond. So the first thing that happens when you meditate or when you make an effort to meditate is concentration. We know this. We know those thoughts that just keep going on and on and on in our mind. That's not a mistake. That's actually concentration. But when we begin to meditate, we're going to choose what to concentrate on. Rather than this being an involuntary, I'm pulled by this thought and this idea and that idea, we're going to choose something. So concentration is the beginning of the process, and we're going to place a thought, a word, or an image as a focal point for the mind. We'll talk in a moment about different types of meditation and what you can use. You can use the word love. You could use a number. Some people do a counted meditation. They count to 10. You can use the breath. So you're going to choose something to focus on. So those are some good choices. Again, if you're a person that writes things down, this might be a good thing to write down. So we're using something as a tool to focus the mind where we'd like it to be. So you could use the word one. You could use the word love. You could use the word om. You could use the sound of your breath to concentrate on. You could use either a candle to gaze at or some image in your mind as a focal point. So we suggest that you don't start any more than 10 minutes at a time. When we start, let's have you go 10 minutes. Choose something to focus on. I would choose the same thing every single day for these 4 weeks. Choose something to focus on, something pleasant, something easeful. Don't make it this big, long mantra or something like that. Something very easeful that you're going to focus on. What's going to happen when you try to focus on something is the very natural state that your mind is going to wander off in a million directions. That is normal. It is not a failure of meditation. In fact, Pema Chodron talks about this as being the process, that the mind wanders away, and the act of meditation is that we gently, without judgment, draw it back. The moment you notice that your mind has wandered off somewhere, without judgment, you just bring back your focal point. So you might be focusing on the word love. And so you're going to focus, the word love is going to be there, and then you're going to go, I wonder what's for lunch today. Then you go, oh, love. You're going to focus on that sound, and then you go, oh, I wonder what my kids are doing right now. And, oh, love. So you're gently going to, we don't have to follow the mind down every pathway it goes. We don't have to judge it or be angry about it either or feel like a failure. We go, ah. For me, I really love when I hear sounds outside because it reminds me where my attention was. It was out there somewhere. Okay, great. I'm going to bring it right back here. And just this repetitive practice will bring you back to where you want to be. And it will get easier over time. And there's a caveat with that. It will get easier over time until you have something stressful going on in your life. And then it will get more difficult again. And then it might get easier again. See, life is still happening even though we're meditating. And we're just going to be normal humans with a meditation practice. So nobody's, better than anybody else because they have a meditation practice. Just going to be a normal human with a busy mind, also with a meditation practice that helps me through my daily life. So the first stage might be concentration. We say the next stage would be meditation. This is a continuous flow of the same word, thought, or image without distraction. Now look, this might take the rest of our lives. So it's not that if you don't have a continuous flow, you're a failure at meditation. But it will become maybe more and more continuous over time, again, unless and until you have a stressful moment or a stressful day or a stressful life circumstance. We'll talk about that a little bit more as the weeks go on. So we can think about concentration as a dripping faucet. When you first turn on the water faucet and the water might just drip out. So in concentration, that water is going to drip out, right? I'm just going to place the thought, and for a moment, the thought's going to be there, and then my mind is going to be someplace else. Some teachers talk about the moment in between the drips of water as being the moments of concentration. Those moments when things are steady and quiet and there's a nothing but your focal point in there. So we can think about concentration as a water faucet, starting with drips of water and space in between, and meditation as more of a, you turn the water faucet on a little bit more and you get a steady stream. Or you're pouring oil and you get a steadier stream. So when we start to move from concentration into meditation, we have a steadier stream of our focal point. And know that, number one, concentration might stay for years until meditation begins to move in. And you might get a moment in every practice that you feel absorbed and you go, that was it. And you know what happens? Then the ego runs up behind you, pats you on the back, good job, and then you're back into the concentration piece, or you're back into the busy mind piece. So don't get attached to any outcome. So we're going to think about a word, a thought, or an image that we would like to use. And you can take a moment right now to write down. Some people will use a thought of a pleasant place that they like to go to, or an image of someone or something that they love. A word, there's the Om is pure sound. We call that the primordial sound meditation. So just if you want to now, maybe choose something that you might use. Or what's beautiful really to practice with is simply the sound of the breath. If you can listen, and I think that's what we'll do today, we'll do a breath meditation, a breath awareness meditation. And you might choose that you like that one. We also have so many guided meditations on YouTube that you can always tap into. I have some Amanda Freed meditation. You can always tap into those. So I want to just take a moment and talk to you about types of meditation so that you can decide what is the start of your journey. Types of meditation include guided meditation, which is what we're going to do today. And for the next 4 weeks, I'll guide you. Chanting. This is what we call japa meditation. This is when the lips and the tongue move. So we're going to say a mantra out loud. Gazing. You can gaze either open eyes at a candle or something. There are mandalas that you can use as a gazing meditation. There are walking meditations. Now, a lot of people will say to me, I always meditate when I ride my bike or when I walk around the block. That's my meditation time. It's very different than a dedicated walking meditation. So the walking meditation that I'm talking about here is when you actually mindfully are using walking to meditate, not when you're just doing your normal walk. It's a little bit different. We can get into more of it if you're really curious about it. And then there's mantra meditation. Manas would be the mind. Tra is tool. This is the practice that I teach. It's a more in-depth course that we do. You let us know if you're interested in that. Manas, the mind. Tra is tool. So a mantra would be a word or a phrase that you would use to focus the mind. So even if you choose to use the word love or Om or a number or a name, that would be the practice of a mantra meditation. So the mantra meditation we say is a silent repetition inside, and the chanting, the japa, that's when you're actually making sound. So those are some distinctions in mantra. So these are the types. You can try any type of meditation, and they're all going to have just these beautiful, profound effects for you. What we want you to know is that the mind is not the enemy of peace. So let's go into a practice now. I'm going to support you in doing a little, probably about a 7-minute practice together. So let's let you find a comfortable seat. You don't have to be watching me. There's not going to be anything on the screen that's going to support you at this point unless you love those pictures of the pyramids and you can focus on them. So we'll first start by just getting yourself into a very comfortable seat. The thing to know is that it doesn't really matter where or how you sit. Don't feel like you have to have a rigid shape in your body. There's no need for that. Just be comfortable. And as you're ready, allow the eyes to close down gently. If you're on a couch or a chair, it's fine. You don't have to sit on the floor. You don't even have to close the eyes. You can allow the eyes to be open slightly, just enough to keep some light in. And for today, we'll use the breath as the focal point, and we'll return to it. So I'd like you to begin by connecting with your breath in a non-judgmental, non-controlling way. Just breathe and know that you're breathing. Inhale and know that you're inhaling. Exhale and simply know that you're exhaling. When the mind wishes to come in, the moment you notice that's happened, gently bring the awareness back to the breath. For some of us, listening to the sound of the breath is the way we'll experience the breath. So let's see now if you can listen to the sound of your own breath. You might make a little constriction in the back of your throat so that the breath has a sound, almost like you're fogging up a mirror. This will make it a little more accessible to focus on the sound of the breath. Notice if the sound of the inhale or the exhale is stronger. Some of us might feel the breath. So you might be more of a tactile, experiential person. If you have trouble hearing the breath, move to your sense of touch. You might notice the collarbones rising on the inhale and falling on the exhale. You might notice the feel of cool air coming in through your nostrils and warm air over your top lip when you exhale. So now you're either experiencing the breath through sound or through feel. For the next few breaths, noticing how you notice the breath. The breath is not something we're doing. The breath is simply something that's happening for us. We're just playing the witness and noticing the breath. You might notice your awareness splits. The awareness might leave the breath and go to the room or the mind. Fine. Gently bring the awareness back to the breath. How are you personally experiencing your breath? Lastly, you might be visual. You might actually be able to envision the breath coming in like a wave of light. And we don't need to choose how to experience the breath. Your personal method will show up on its own. You might be auditory. You might be tactile. You might be visual. Now, wherever it is that you experience the breath, whether it's auditory, tactile, visual, just notice how far you can follow the path of the breath. Does the inhale stop at the nostrils, or can you be aware of it when it hits the back of the throat or down into the lungs, or even into the abdomen? How long can I follow the path of my inhale? Please ask these questions with a curiosity, not a judgment. Notice if this changes from inhale to inhale. Where does the awareness begin? Where does the awareness of the inhale end? How long can I follow the path of my inhale? And then can I notice when the inhale gives way to the exhale? Right? We don't say inhale over, exhale begin. The inhale simply gives way to the exhale at some point. We see where we might notice the exhale beginning. Is it in the abdomen or the lungs? Maybe we don't notice the exhale till it's landing over the top lip. Stay connected to your breath, following the path of the inhale, noticing where the inhale gives way to the exhale. Following the path of the exhale. Two more full rounds of breath in exactly this way. Watching, listening to, or feeling the inhale. Watching, listening to, or feeling the exhale. Notice any sounds that are happening inside or outside of the room you're in. And then return to the breath. Now, for a moment, just make note. Has the quality of your breath changed simply by paying attention to it? as this gentle breath awareness meditation allowed me to become aware of the breath as a tool, as an entity for concentration. How much of my awareness can I place on the breath? All right, and then releasing the focus on the breath. Just return to your natural breath. And begin to bring the awareness back to the body. So we'll maybe wiggle fingers and toes. Maybe circle wrists or ankles. So we're just gently bringing our awareness back into the body. You can start to stretch in any way that feels appropriate to you. I always like to check in with my neck. Maybe move your shoulders around a little bit, welcoming yourself back into your body and allowing yourself to just flutter the eyes open gently. So allow yourself to take time to come back into the moment. So we want the nervous system to re-regulate, to be aware of being in the room, maybe looking around the room. I like to see if my vision has changed. It might get a little more clear or blurry. I might be noticing things in my field of vision or in my field of awareness. Always come out of meditation very slowly. And welcome back. So we'd love it if you would share any questions, comments, or how that experience might have gone for you. Any challenges you have with that. That's a practice you can do again and again. The breath is always there for you. The breath is our first line of awareness, our first line of defense, and our first tool for focusing the awareness. So sometimes if you want to know if you're feeling stressed, check in with your breath. A stressed breath would be short and choppy. It might be not complete and anxious. So you might check in with your breath and go, wow, I'm feeling stressed. Maybe if I just pay attention to the breath without controlling it, that might shift. So did the breath change for you over the time of that practice? Those are, some prompts, questions. Did the breath change for you during that practice? Or how did you do? Were you able to connect with the breath? Were you visual or auditory or tactile? So feel free to comment, question, share with us what your experience was. Notice how you're feeling right now. And over time, over the next few weeks, I'm going to be offering you more and more types of practices. We'll do some body scan practice. We might do some mantra practice. We might do some visualizations. So know that this is just the first of the tools that we're offering you in this 4-week course. I am so grateful that you joined me today. Yeah, thank you so much.